Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and we got a Raw review from the 19th of May. A pretty stacked show, obviously, with the Money in the Bank qualifiers coming up. It's one of those things where it's like you're going to get a lot of matches that are based off of that, but those are really fun because obviously the triple threats, you get to see some interesting matchups. Plus, obviously, we're getting this match built, which we now have for half the field of women. So I think that's kind of cool. But let's just jump into Raw. So it started off with Logan Paul talking, he's talking all his crap about, going after Jey Uso. Then gets interrupted by Gunther, who loads him up with those fake compliments and then drives back down. I think that's the only time I could really root for Gunther because I'm not a big Logan Paul fan, and like I would want Gunther to chop him pretty well. So I don't mind seeing that feud. And then obviously at the very end, Jay getting the upper hand and taking down Logan Paul. I think this feud's pretty good. I also want to say like Jay having like three already like hot type rivalries going into his title opportunity is really good because a lot of people obviously thought, this he was an interim champ, like he was going to drop the belt as soon as they could and like all this stuff. But I think showing all this at least shows that he's gonna have a solid month or two, at least for what they've already had planned. So I mean, there's a good possibility that he makes it to SummerSlam or even further than that. Obviously, this started off the show. I thought it was pretty good. I'm gonna put it up in S tier. It's a good thing that we got multiple matches ahead of time for Jay, and it looks like he might be able to make it. But they've done it in a way where at any moment you could think that Jay could lose it because they already have the rivals of Jey Uso arguing with each other, so they could easily just bring up that momentum and stuff. So it's kind of crazy. Next up, we had the tag match. It was Penta and AJ Styles versus Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Honestly, this was a match that absolutely cooked for no reason. Obviously, they're really great workers, and like this was going to be a good match. But I like Penta and AJ's vibe. Like they kind of had matching outfits too. I thought it was kind of a cool little tag team. Wouldn't mind seeing that in the future if that comes up. Obviously, Finn like their vibes and their in ring works very well together. So I thought it was kind of nice. So maybe we see a more of this. I don't really know. I think the match itself I thought was really good. I was actually kind of surprised that Finn Balor got the win again. It's another pin. It's another thing that he's gotten. He's got two victories in a row that he's got the pin, which is pretty crazy for him. So I think that's kind of a good thing for him to get some momentum up. And I think they're trying to build him up so he can legitimately be somebody that might go after Dom, and it would actually look like he had some teeth behind that. So I'm gonna put this up an A. It's a stellar match. I thought everything about it was really good. Um, they gave him a lot of time. This is the thing I liked about a lot of these matches is that they gave them quite a bit of time. I think like the only match was the Rhea, Kairi Sane, and Zoe Stark. When we get to that, there's obviously a reason, but I think all of them got a decent amount of time and a lot of extra stuff because of that. And I'm glad. Like these were solid 5 matches that had a lot of actual screen time, which is not always what we get. Sometimes we get a little bit of smaller stuff and still get the same amount of matches. So next up, we had the Money in the Bank qualifying match: Roxanne Perez versus Becky Lynch versus Natalia. Now, obviously, Natalia's there to take the pin. It's unfortunate for her because I feel like obviously she's like a legend and all that, and I feel like it's like almost not using her as a better thing sometimes because like when you see something like that, you're like, oh, she's definitely taking a pin. It was just who's gonna win. I obviously thought it was going to be Roxanne Perez, and it ended up being. And I think the match itself really showed why Roxanne should be in that Money in the Bank match, obviously based off her skills. Plus, it allowed Lyra to take out Becky Lynch, so that gave their feud to continue and maybe get a Money in the Bank match or at Saturday main event. I'm not really sure. I'm really expecting that we get a women's match on that Saturday night main event. It's kind of crazy that we have 4 matches, which isn't even a lot, and then we're missing like a women's match in general. I figured we'd have something by now, but we have nothing at the moment. So this match itself, I also would probably put up into the S tier. I thought it was really good back and forth. I think obviously Roxanne looked really great in this match, which really helped. The other two, I think, were a little bit below par, but they also didn't get a lot of time to shine. I think the whole point was to make Roxanne look good in her debut match for Raw. Even though she's had matches on Raw, this is her first officially signed to the roster, and it's a win, and it gets her into the Money in the Bank. So she was in the Elimination Chamber. Um, Royal Rumble and this, which is great, and she'll join Alexa Bliss. Next up is Sheamus and Grayson Waller. I think this was just a good, solid match to put in here. Obviously, it's showing the relationship of Grayson Waller and Austin Theory as they're getting separate. So I think that's kind of the good side thing. Plus, seeing Sheamus out there do Sheamus things was good. I think this is a solid B match. Glad it was on the card. Obviously, I would like to see Sheamus more, but it kind of makes sense that the way that they're using him is just kind of like a side thing. But I think it's good. You know, we're not. Um, it's really good to see when he gets to banger after banger after banger, and it's like we don't always get to see that. So when I get to see it, I'm happy, and I thought that was a good match to put in the mat thing. So this next one, which is Kairi Sane versus Rhea Ripley versus Zoe Stark. Obviously, there was a really gruesome injury to Zoe Stark, and that was very unfortunate. And thoughts and stuff go out to her, and hopefully she is going to be okay. I think she definitely had a really nasty injury, so I think she'll be. It's going to be one of those things. I think it's going to take a lot of time off of her career because of it. At least as long as the last one did. So very unfortunate. But obviously the match suffered because they were missing the person, and Kyrie took the pin, which I'm pretty sure was going to be Zoe Stark's thing. But regardless, I thought it was still a pretty fun match. They had a lot of good stuff, like the drop kick at a midair for Rhea Ripley on Kairi Sane, also the kick when she did the insane elbow. Thought were all good. If we would have had, I think, what the match was supposed to be, I think this match would have been a lot more up there. But I think a lot of it was on the fly, and I think they cut off some time of it because of it. So I think it's a solid B. Still good to be on the card. Rhea Ripley wins. He'll be in the Money in the Bank. She's still my front runner to win the whole thing, and I think it's nice. I think it's a cool thing that she's gotten this opportunity. Next up is really the only like segment other than the opening segment to really put out there. Like we had Tozawa and Rusev doing stuff in the back. Don't really care. Obviously, they talked about Chad Gable and the triple threat for the Creeds next week for the title, but like all that stuff was like it was solid, but I don't know if it's as noteworthy compared to at least this part with Roxanne Perez trying to join the Judgment Day by Finn Balor. We saw them talking in the background, I think like 2 Raws ago, so it was a possibility something was going to happen. Was that 2 Raws or 1 Raw ago? But it was still a little bit ago, and she's giving gifts and stuff, which really I think puts her in a red hot feud because I think Liv's going to come back absolutely pissed, and I think that's going to set up maybe a little mini rivalry. And having Liv Morgan as your first rivalry on the main roster, I think will be amazing for Roxanne Perez. Also, if Finn Balor separates from it, he could obviously have Roxanne Perez in there as his like part of his crew, and I think that also would be really good and kind of could change up a lot of the things. So I think that's a cool idea. I put it up in S tier. I think it was a pretty good segment. Next up, we had Braun Breaker versus not Jimmy Jey Uso. I think the match itself was okay. Obviously, we knew it was just going to be Braun trying to beat the crap out of him and not really win it. The match ended in DQ with Jay winning because Seth Rollins attacked him, and then obviously Sammy and CM Punk come to save him, and that sets up their feud for Saturday Night Main Event, and also leads into the very ending of Logan Paul taking out Jey Uso. So I think altogether the match was a B. I think the show itself I thought was pretty decent. I obviously would probably put it around like a B to probably a solid B plus. Like it was a good show. Obviously, these Money in the Bank qualifying matches are always fun to do, and they have a lot of say for the future stuff because that's just how it goes. But yeah, I think it was a pretty solid show. Tell me what you guys think. We do these Raw reviews every Monday, so if you enjoy that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.